Yes, guys, hope everyone's doing good today on this rainy, miserable Sunday. But I've got some good news, and it's an interesting topic I really want to speak about, doing the scouting and all that type of thing. But Leeds United are attempting or are trying to sign Nigerian wonderkid, as he's been named, Leonard Njenj from Ikadoru City in Nigeria. He's 16 and isn't, because of FIFA ruling, allowed to sign for Leeds United until he reaches the age of 18. But it seems like we're leading the race. It seems like we are trying to assign him for future. And this is interesting because there's a wider range to this and a wider thing I really want to speak about. And that's the kind of premise and the idea of the Red Bull network and how that helps us scout further afield than just Europe, just the UK or just Europe, which we tend to do. And as you know, and as I spoke about before, the Red Bull network in Africa, the scouting network in Africa, is very vast, probably one of the best and the biggest networks in the world from a scouting network perspective in Africa. And it's interesting now that suddenly Leeds United are on the verge of trying to sign a Nigerian player from Africa, right? When was the last time that happened at such a young age? Obviously, players come from Africa that we've signed, but not as a youth prospect. This is clearly the network being allowed to be exploited from Leeds and Red Bull. That is clearly a connection there. It's interesting because I did a lot of studying about the kind of the African kind of scouting networks, the African scouting networks, the scouting networks within Africa, and it is very dominated by Red Bull, the City Group, Ajax as well. Their scouting network have a very good grasp in Africa, and a few French sides as well. Predominantly, all the top talent usually goes to either Ajax, the City Group, or the Red Bull sides. So it's a market where, and it's the most untapped market in the world with the most potential. Because even if you look at, the historical side of it and how many top talent comes from Africa, how many top talent, who at a young age moved to France, moved to Austria for Leipzig in Germany, Salzburg in Austria, Ajax, Kudos, for example. All these young guys coming from African countries to play in Europe. And it's vastly untapped because originally when they are brought in to these European sides and then they're moved on to other clubs, they are then nationalised as, French. They represent the French national team and all that because they've been in that country for such a young age. But actually, now I think it's changing a lot, which is great because a lot of these young talents, you look at Sadio Mane's, Kudos, for example, who came to Europe or whatever at a young age are now representing the African country in which they were born, and that's excellent to see. And it's interesting that now we're part of that network because it's no shock for me because this is the type of thing I expected Red Bull to do. And there's a great article on it that I want to speak about. And it's this one here. It's on The Athletic. It's free, of course. You can read through it. But it's very, very interesting and it's very good. It's about, as you can see from the title, Scouting Africa is the most undervalued market in the world. And it goes in to tell you about all the players that Man City, the group have signed, all the young lads from there, all the top teams in Europe, even Brighton, Kudos, they're an example. All these young talents that come over from Africa. And it tells you about how they are successful in Europe and how that market is a market in which is one that can't be exploited as much. And there's reasons for that. Of course, like the main reason, and again, I've done a lot of research in uni about this, is it's a very established market in terms of if you're going there, it's dominated by certain teams and certain players, i.e. the City Group, i.e. Red Bull, right? So if you're like a smaller side in the Championship or maybe just even like a Bournemouth, for example, or a team like that, it's had to go over there with your scouts and find these top talents because it's most likely these top talents have already established a relationship with the likes of Ajax, the City Group, Red Bull, for example. So you miss out. And look at all the unbelievable African talent that we have all over the world that are applying their trade in Europe, South America, wherever they are. You know, it's a vast, vast market, and it's vast, full of unbelievable talent. And to have that network and to be part of that network through the Red Bull connection, which it is, because Leeds United could not go to Africa and get a young talent that is liked and labelled as a really big next big thing kind of thing without the kind of tutelage or the connections and the networking of the Red Bull side of it. You know, Red Bull have established very big names. They have links to very close relationships with ex-African players who are now set up in Africa and creating academies and stuff in Africa. You know, agents and owners of teams over there who talk to these connections, and they build these big relationships because they know the best route for their kids or the young lads and ladies that are in Africa that are wanting to move to Europe. You know that these certain connections come in, they have the right intentions, they will apply their dreams of them playing for the top teams in the world. So you build that trust. So it's hard for an outside source to break that trust. And it's about connections. It's about understanding that there is a path for these young guys and girls, right? And that's really important. And for a team like us, who isn't at that level, they have the ability to attract these young players. Look, and this is down to the contacts you get through the Red Bull system. Of course, look, it won't be directly involved with the Red Bull team, but it's giving the contacts, giving them, giving them the names and the people who to speak to, and telling to these people then, you know, these ex-players and all that, these are guys you could trust, these are guys that will look after your players, look at the path, look at Archie Gray, I can go on endlessly, look at the amount of players that there's a clear path to get to the Premier League, to get to first team football, to earn a lot of money, to be extremely successful, to achieve your goals. And that's important. He's a left back, I believe. There's nothing on him, by the way. No information. I have little, very little. He was on trial at Leeds, I believe, last January around. I can't remember. He uploaded a video on YouTube, and I'm pretty sure it's him because it's him. He's wearing a Leeds shirt, and there's a video, a 12-minute video of him. A guy with his name anyway, who looks very young, and it's at the Leeds Academy. And it's just the video footage of them doing a rondon. Yeah, so I think it's him. But anyway, it's interesting. Like I said, nothing about him. It's just interesting, the whole wider scouting range and how it's important to be part of that group or have been allowed to have them connections to connect you to a wider range of talent, because that's where you get these extraordinary young talents that most European teams do not have access to. Sadio Mane, Kudos, you know, even Mo Salah, for example. There's so many. And it's a great market to find extremely good talent. And the fact that we're part of that, to some extent, that will improve massively when we're in the Premier League, best believe. Mark my words. But this is the point. This is about just slowly breaking into building those communications, building those connections and that network. It's everything in football. Network, who you know, who trusts you, it's everything. And to be part of that is big. And hopefully we'll see, especially when we're in the Premier League, this is something that can be exploited more, which I've already spoke about in the past. This is the side of this group coming in, the Red Bull group, that is good for us. Of course, there's the concerns of the other side, but I'm just talking about my experience and what I've researched through university and all that stuff. And yeah, and being part of this market, being part of this group or one of these groups that is in the running, some young talents, is excellent. And it's really impressive to see. So yeah, let me know what you guys think. I appreciate all the support. This is a little quick one. Hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you guys soon. Bye-bye.